Hi, I'm Maximilian Alvarez. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Real News Network and host of the podcast Working People. And this is the Art of Class War on Breaking Points. I want to start off this segment by wishing everyone out there a safe, restful, and love-filled holiday season. To borrow a phrase from the great Kurt Vonnegut, I hope each and every one of you is able to take some time back over the holidays to be with the people and do the things that make you brave and kind and healthy and happy. I also want to give viewers and listeners a warning up top that today's segment deals with the topics of bullying, harassment, and even suicide. If you are unable to continue with this segment, I completely understand. If you are able, however, I want to ask you to help us spread the word because this story is important and more people need to know about it. A year and a half ago on my podcast, Working People, we published an interview with the family of Evan Seyfried, which was, to this day, the hardest interview that I've ever recorded. I spoke with Evan's mother, Linda, his father, Ken, and his brother, Eric, about his life, about the beautiful person and hard worker that he was. And I spoke to them about the tragic and unforgivable events that led to Evan's death. As anyone who knew him can attest, Evan was a loving son, brother, and friend, and a dedicated worker. For 19 years, with a virtually spotless record, Evan worked at a local Kroger grocery store in Milford, Ohio, where he eventually became the dairy department manager. From October 2020 to March 2021, however, Evan suffered a torturous litany of bullying, harassment, and sabotage, according to a lawsuit filed against Kroger by the Seyfried family. As the lawsuit alleges, it was this treatment which was the result of a conspiracy involving numerous actors, including management-level supervisors Shannon Frazee and Joseph Pigg at the Milford store, that caused Evan to eventually suffer a transient episodic break and take his own life. For the Seyfried family, nothing can ever replace the loss of their son, Evan. And as always, I want to send them my love and solidarity, and I want to thank them for sharing their story with me so openly and bravely, even though it was incredibly hard and painful to do so. While the Seyfrieds fight to pick up the pieces, and while their lawsuit against Kroger is moving through the courts very slowly, a group of volunteers, family friends, and community members have come together to honor Evan's life, to hold Kroger accountable for his death, and to fight the scourge of workplace bullying, which affects millions of workers around the U.S. and beyond. Through my podcast, Working People, through my work at The Real News, and even here on Breaking Points, I've done my best to cover the story of Evan's tragic death and to lift up the valiant struggle of the Seyfrieds and the Justice for Evan Coalition to make sure that Evan's name isn't forgotten and that no one has to go through what Evan and his loved ones have had to go through. And I'll be honest, it's been a real struggle to get the story out there. But because the Seyfrieds and their supporters have refused to give up, because they have kept pushing over these 2 years, that may be changing. While Kroger continues to stay unforgivably silent, asserting that it can't comment on ongoing litigation, a recent cover article about Evan Seyfried for the Cincinnati Enquirer, which was syndicated across the country, including for USA Today, has given Evan's family and the Justice for Evan Coalition a renewed sense of hope that they will secure the justice and accountability that they have been fighting so tirelessly for. To talk about all of this, I'm honored to be joined today by Jana Murphy and Erica Erskine, the two founders and co-organizers of the Justice for Evan Coalition. Jana, Erica, thank you so much for joining us today on Breaking Points.
Well, thank you so much, Max, for having us, and we just appreciate your listeners so much tuning in today.
Well, it's a real honor to have you both on the call. And, just to sort of make sure that the Breaking Points viewers and listeners have all the essential information from the jump. I wanted to, build on my introduction and ask if you guys could first tell folks a little more about yourselves and how you got involved in the Justice for Evan fight. And if you could, help walk us through the events that led to Evan's death and the long fight to hold Kroger, Shannon Frazee, and Joseph Pigg accountable. So, Jana, why don't we start with you?
Max, back in the winter of 2021, the Seyfrieds were living a normal life here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Eric Seyfried is a close friend of mine, and I am a close friend of the Seyfried family. On the night of March the 9th, after Eric and I had spoken briefly on the phone and everything was completely normal, and I woke up the next day to many messages from my friend as he was on his way from Portland, Oregon to be with his mother and father after his little brother, Evan Seyfried, had taken his life. I'll jump to what family found out in the days following from Evan's coworkers at the Milford Kroger. Family was contacted by Evan's friends at Kroger and said, "We have to tell you that Evan was murdered." And they told him, Ken Seyfried and Evan Seyfried, about the relentless, fierce, horrible, unbelievable. It's unbelievable what Shannon Frazee and Joseph Pigg, the campaign that they started against Evan. Evan was a diligent, loyal 19-year Kroger employee. He was the dairy manager at the Milford Kroger. He had an impeccable record, and that record stayed completely impeccable, not only on paper, but also with Evan's loyalty to Kroger. And when Shannon Frazee became his manager at that Kroger, everything went to hell, literally. And your listeners and viewers can see the entire 31-page lawsuit on scripts.com, and we highly encourage them to read the lawsuit because due to our segment here at the time, we don't have a lot of time to talk about all the details. So in my mind, all the details are running. I'm trying to narrate it as much as possible. Months after this bullying campaign started with Shannon, some female employees, Evan was a whistleblower, and female employees knew that he would help them when they had been sexually harassed by Joseph Pigg. They had reported, nothing was done. They came to Evan as a leader and asked for his help. He did help them file reports, and Joseph Pigg then verbally, in person, threatened Evan that his information would be given out because Joseph Pigg was the security manager at Kroger, and Evan's personal information indeed was given out. And he was sent messages to his phone. He was sent child pornography to his phone. He took his phone to his dad to take to a lawyer. And as they were going downtown, Evan had an episodic break. This is a man with no prior history of mental illness. And he went to his parents' home after, and he took his life in his childhood room, and Ken Seyfried found him, and then in the days following, when the Kroger employees came out and told the family what had happened, then the family filed a lawsuit against Kroger.
Thank you so much, Jana, for walking us through that. And again, for viewers and listeners, you can go check out the previous reporting that I've done, including more extended interviews with Jana, with the Seyfrieds, with Erica, where we give a lot more of that essential background to the campaign of terror that Evan's managers waged on him for months, isolating him, bullying him, sabotaging him, according to the lawsuit filed by the family, which, as Jana mentioned, you can read the full text of online. And, it's just fair warning. It's horrifying stuff. Again, Evan worked at this Milford, Ohio Kroger for nearly 20 years, had a spotless record, had become the dairy manager. And then when he got this new manager, his life became a living hell. And he, according to the lawsuit, was bullied and harassed and targeted viciously, even while Evan was standing up for his coworkers who were filing sexual harassment complaints. Evan himself was getting, bullied and harassed by management. He was not getting the help that he needed from his union or from Kroger HR. And so, again, you can go check out all the details there. And Erica, I wanted to bring you in as well and ask if you could sort of talk about how you got involved in this campaign and I guess what happened with the campaign after, the Seyfrieds learned about what their son had gone through before he took his own life, and filed the lawsuit with Kroger. What happened then, as far as you and Jana and Justice for Evan is concerned?
Well, our paths crossed, Jana and myself, after I read the very first article that really came out. I think it was by the Washington Post back in July of 2021, after the Seyfrieds had filed the lawsuit against Kroger. So that's how I came to be a part of Justice for Evan, and myself being a employee of Kroger for over 20 years. It just struck a nerve with me, and something just was telling me, like, you got to help these people, and because it's not just helping the family, but it's really helping the Kroger workers across the country overall in dealing with this nonsense of mistreatment, bullying, and organizational mobbing that is running rampant through this company. It's just say I had some skill sets that I felt would be very, very useful. And that's how I came to be one of the co-founders of Justice for Evan.
And I mean, since then, the online campaign to build, the Justice for Evan Facebook page, and, that has grown by leaps and bounds. I know that there have been demonstrations, in cities around the country while the Seyfrieds lawsuit against Kroger is slowly moving through the courts. And I just sort of wanted to ask, in the midst of all of that, how are the Seyfrieds doing? How are you all both and the other members of the Justice for Evan Coalition holding up throughout all of this? And, as you mentioned, Erica, the Washington Post did cover this initially, and, there have been a couple of stories here and there, but by and large, it's been, working people. It's been great shows like the Retail War Zone, that have helped kind of keep this story alive. But then we got sort of a blockbuster moment this past month where the Cincinnati Enquirer did a front page story on Evan's case, and that was nationally syndicated. So what has that meant for you all, the Seyfrieds and the Justice for Evan Coalition? So how are folks holding up, and what does the publication of this new story by the Enquirer mean for the fight for justice for Evan?
Thank you, Max. Also want to go back briefly and mention that Evan did go through all the proper channels when he reported, and he was completely ignored by the entire organization of Kroger. And I really want to reiterate that to listeners. Evan Seyfried did exactly what he was supposed to do. He always did. He was a highly ethical, beautiful human being. And he was put under people who became his superiors were not any of the caliber of near of a person that he was, nor any of the Seyfrieds are. And the Seyfried family, Eric, Ken, and Linda, are suffering. Evan was a tremendous loss, not only to the world, to this small, beautiful, wonderful family. They're just the nicest people. And anybody who could possibly judge what happened to Evan by saying anything negative ever about him, then I really want to encourage listeners to stand up to those people and say, read the lawsuit, look at what look at what really truly happened. And the Seyfrieds are suffering. I mean, Kroger has not said boo to the Seyfried family. I mean, this is unjust punishment to a family by the largest corporation in the tri-state area that they loved and supported for many, many years, and that their son dedicated his work life to. And this corporation doesn't have enough heart in it to even say one thing to the family, not even to say, we know that we're going through litigation, but here's we are sorry, and we know we need to change. I mean, they know this happened. They know this happened, and they don't have the courage to even come to the family. This family's been waiting since the summer of 2021 to hear something from Kroger, to hear anything, and there's been nothing. This family is suffering. This is another Christmas, another Thanksgiving. The site that Ken and Linda are out in Oregon with Eric. They're a very close family. They're getting ready to celebrate another Christmas without Evan. Amy, Evan's girlfriend, is here in Cincinnati getting ready to celebrate another Christmas without Evan. I use the word celebrate extremely loosely. They're grieving. All these people are grieving. And the fact that the Cincinnati Enquirer, and an amazing journalist named Alex Coolidge, spent so much time creating this beautiful, amazing article and piece, and the research that good human being did, and the ethical standard that the Cincinnati Enquirer has shown is impeccable. It's amazing. And Evan would be so happy with the people that we have encountered through this entire journey since we started Justice for Evan. And I encourage your listeners to get on the Justice for Evan Facebook page and look at the link tree that Erica has created. And they can see all of the events that Justice for Evan and all of our supporters and all of the help from all of the good people, including you, Max, and your amazing team, all the people who've done podcasts with us, all the people who've come out for the protest, all the people who helped us get through the national the protests March 9th and through the shareholder meeting last June, which was a monumental event because Ronnie McMullen actually read a prepared statement. He knew that he was going to be forced to do that. He did it. That was huge for the family. And then when the Cincinnati Enquirer article came out 2 weeks ago, how that came out first was Ken Seyfried did a long interview with the Cincinnati Enquirer, and I get very emotional because I know the behind the scenes and how hard that was for him and how important that it was for him, not only to tell the personal story about what he and Linda went through that night and what they have been going through, but also to how important that it is for people to know what's going on at Kroger. And these corporate workers, they don't know what's going on at Kroger. They have no clue what's happening at the stores. And it is our mission to get that out there to the public, what's going on in the stores. This can never happen to another employee again. It's not going to happen on my watch, and it's not going to happen on Erica's watch. And by God, we're going to make sure that these employees are protected at Kroger. And there are many good people at Kroger, many good people who work on the floor. Erica works at Kroger. Amy works at Kroger. I know lots of great people who work at Kroger. But the people who are at the top at Kroger, it has been shown to us that they really don't give a crap about what's happening with the people on the floors. They don't give a crap. And we know that those corporate workers, they don't even know that the employees weren't even getting paychecks. And I would really like to come back and do another podcast with you, Max, for Erica to do a lot more education to your listeners on like that about the paycheck issue and so many other issues that are going on at Kroger, so that we can just continue to broaden our microphone, get our microphone louder, and so that, because to how we are doing at Justice for Evan, we are getting angrier as more time goes on. We are not getting tired, and that's what. And we've told Kroger this since the very beginning. If you think we're going away, do you see us going away? We were front page on the USA Today at 3 p.m. on Friday when that article came out as the lead story on USA Today, with Evan's face looking down at his mother's cat. You know, that beautiful face. At 3 p.m., over 7,000 Americans were reading that story at the same time. After midnight that night, still over 300 Americans were still reading that story. And then it came out on the front page of the Sunday Cincinnati Enquirer and the Kentucky Enquirer of Evan's girlfriend, Amy, crying on the front page. And you open it up, and there is the biggest article ever in the Enquirer, the full 2-page centerfold pictures of Evan and that and an incredible piece that Alex Coolidge did. So we're not getting tired. Our fight is just starting. We're never going away. We are anxiously awaiting the day that Kroger is going to sit down at the table and admit this. And when they look at Ken Seyfried and Eric Seyfried and say, we know we were accountable for Evan's death, and that's the only reason why he died, there's a victory.
Well, and Erica, I guess by way of closing us out, I think Jana did a brilliant job kind of laying out the importance of the publication of that piece. As you mentioned, Jana, folks can go to the Justice for Evan Facebook page if they want to keep up to date with this, see how the movement's growing, get updates on future demonstrations that are going to be held. You can also find them on Twitter. And Erica, I know that as you mentioned, as someone who is an employee of the Kroger Corporation, which extends into so many different areas, right? Because Kroger's bought up like basically every other grocery store chain in this country, like King Soopers, where workers were going on strike in Colorado earlier this year. I know that that's been a big part of this campaign's evolution as well, right? Like connecting what Evan went through at the hands of Kroger management and everyone down the line from Kroger HR to all the way to the CEO, Rodney McMullen. Everyone failed Evan. And you guys are doing important work to sort of connect that to the ongoing struggles of Kroger employees around the country. So I wanted to just ask if you could say a little bit about that and what folks can do to get involved in that effort by way of closing us out.
Yeah, I kind of feel that we're, more in the loop than, Kroger corporate and HR is half the time, because, it seems like they really do not have a clue what goes on a daily basis at the store level. That's where all the, quote, magic happens, as we say. And they just don't have a clue. It's that they're just so detached from reality, and it's seemingly more so as like the years go on, and especially lately. And, you mentioned the buying up stores with, the recent merger, like with proposal with Albertsons. And, with the way things have been at Kroger for a while, but especially since the onset of the pandemic, they don't have any business acquiring any more stores and thousands more employees whose lives they could potentially ruin if they don't get this stuff in check. So yeah, I do feel that we're not like me personally, I feel like I'm only doing my job, my full-time job, plus theirs. And really all it takes is they just need to open their eyes and their ears and realize that there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. And we are more than willing we're at the table. We've been sitting at the table. And the only way to create this change is to literally directly sit across from the table with people like Rodney McMullen and, some of the key players in the head office. But moving forward, we our current project is our Billboard campaign that we're currently crowdfunding to continue to raise public awareness. And this time we're literally going to raise public awareness right in downtown Cincinnati, right in Kroger's face, literally. So it's just an extension of Alex Coolidge's article in the Inquirer, which has had us busy responding to messages. We've gotten emails with even more people, employees in particular, coming out of the woodwork and saying, I experienced similar things. I'm so sorry for, the Seyfried's loss. If anything I can do to help, just please let me know. So we're growing in numbers and it's not going to stop. So Kroger just needs to surrender basically and just start listening to their employees, because as Jana has reiterated many times, we're not going away and we're not tired, and we'll do this until the end of time, basically. So and I, this work never gets easier, but it does bring to me at least a sense of reward, knowing that I'm helping so many fellow coworkers across the country who have had nowhere to turn, who have gone through the proper channels like Evan did, have been turned away, have been ignored. Most have either quit or been terminated. And that can't continue to happen. People need paychecks. People have to live. People have to eat. And it's very ironic that, in the grocery business, a lot of employees can't even afford to eat because they don't even make a living wage. So there's a lot of things wrong with Kroger that needs to be fixed. But I do believe they have it in them. I really do. They have it in them. There are a lot of good people within the Kroger enterprise. There's a lot of good people, and those people need to start coming out of the woodwork also.
Well, and I can't thank you and Jana for being two of those good people, fighting as hard as you have for the Seyfrieds and for Kroger workers everywhere. It's really an honor to be in this struggle with both of you. And I just wanted to underline something that both Erica and Jana said for viewers and listeners. When I interviewed Ken, Evan's father, Linda, Evan's mother, and Eric, Evan's brother, on that first episode of Working People, they explicitly pointed to Kroger's corporate policy as, the reason for their son's death. They said that Evan himself even told them that once Rodney McMullen took over as CEO, things changed at Kroger. It was all about the bottom line. Relationships with management really changed. It was about how much you could increase store sales at the cost of everything else. Ken, Seyfried told me point blank, it is because of this sort of relentless corporate policy that my son did not get the help that he was asking for, that corporate didn't care about the treatment and that he was receiving, the complaints that they were hearing about that treatment, because the store sales were up. So the family is drawing a direct line between kind of Kroger's corporate policy and the hell that workers like Evan are having to endure at locations across the country. And so again, I can't thank you both enough for being part of this struggle and doing everything that you can to fight, to hold Kroger accountable and to make sure that workers like Evan never have to endure this kind of thing again. So for Breaking Points, this is Maximilian Alvarez signing off, and Jana Murphy, Erica Erskine, two founders and co-organizers of the Justice for Evan Coalition. Thank you so much for joining us today on Breaking Points. Thank you for watching this segment with Breaking Points. And be sure to subscribe to my news outlet, The Real News, with links in the description. See you soon for the next edition of The Art of Class War. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Solidarity forever.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.